Hello, UCAR. Peter Christensen here, coming to you from the CEO's desk. So we're going to talk about the REPC for a minute. We're going to talk in particular about the three main conditions in the REPC. So those would be, according to me, the due diligence condition, the appraisal condition, and the financing condition. So there is that subject to sell condition that's in the new REPC, but we're going to focus on these three. So let's talk about them. They're all slightly different, and we got to understand how they work, and they all affect the buyer's right to cancel. So obviously, we've got two grouped together in one deadline, the finance and appraisal deadline. However, they are very different conditions. They have one similar common deadline, but different in how they work. So two of them, not the same two, have similar language. So we've got the due diligence and the finance condition that both have this language that says in buyer's sole discretion. What does that mean? Well, it means buyer doesn't have to provide any more reasoning or justification for canceling than, in my sole discretion, I would like to cancel. So we've got those two with that, but then we have the appraisal condition, which has different requirements entirely. Appraisal condition, you got to provide notice of a low appraisal, and then you got to provide a copy of the low appraisal. So totally different in how that one functions. But bear in mind that as you're counseling a seller, as offers are coming in, you've got that language, that sole discretion language attached to that finance and the due diligence conditions. And what that does is basically means buyer at their sole discretion can cancel this contract. So seller needs to be aware of that because it's kind of a get out of the contract free in functionality. It's not, because they do need to, in their sole discretion, have an issue with financing or due diligence, but it's kind of hard to argue with sole discretion. Nothing has to have occurred or changed, material or immaterial, with the contract, with the financing, with the condition of the property. No, simply the buyer can change their mind and say, I'm no longer, in my sole discretion, I'm no longer satisfied with my financing, or I'm no longer satisfied with the condition of the property. And I have the right to cancel because that's what the contract allows me. So if that seller's the finance deadline is really close to settlement, you just got to let your seller know, hey, this the buyer could bail without you getting the earnest money, clear up till that deadline at their sole discretion. And now there is, in Section 8 of the REPC, there is the ability to put in, for the seller to put in some earnest money that will go hard after the due diligence deadline, prior to the finance deadline, unless they cancel, the buyer cancels based off of the appraisal condition, and then that little additional earnest money section, or hard earnest money. It's not additional. What portion of the earnest money will go hard, that is not affected by the appraisal condition, but it is by the finance. So there are those differences. Take a look at those, study those, and then help your sellers understand. I think if they know, it's not an issue. They know what they're getting into. They know if they allow a long finance condition period, they know what they're getting into. They're not going to be surprised after 3 weeks, 4 weeks of having their home off the market that the buyer walks away and they don't get anything for it. So we ought to make them aware of that. Remember, this is not intended as legal advice. If you need specific legal advice, contact your attorney. This is for legal information purposes only. If you want to see any other of these videos, check out the YouTube page, and there are more of these videos on there. If you have any thoughts or comments about this topic or any others, please leave a comment below, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.